All right, the Detroit Lions just announced about 4 minutes ago that the Lions are releasing Za'Darius Smith. What is going on? Is this a necessary move? According to Mike Payton, this sucks, and I would agree. The Detroit Lions needed to take a swing at the trade deadline this past November after losing Aiden Hutchinson, and they did, and when they traded with the Cleveland Browns for Za'Darius Smith. Now, Smith made an impact in Detroit immediately. He became the team's lead pass rusher, and in 8 games, he put up 36 pressures and 5 sacks. Not Aiden Hutchinson numbers, but not bad at all. Matter of fact, to comment on that, not Aiden Hutchinson numbers, let me remind you guys of something. When I did this previous article, I cut some things out of it, but there is not one team out there other than the Lions from last year that had multiple defensive ends on the roster that were ranked in the top 32. The Lions, obviously the Eagles were the other team. The Minnesota Vikings had 2, and then there was another team. But nobody outside of 2 or 3 teams had true defensive ends on their roster that each had more than 10 sacks apiece. And I think that that's an important stat because it doesn't happen very often. So when he says not Aiden Hutchinson numbers, well, there's no other team out there that's doing it either with their second guy. Now, obviously, the expectation from fans with the Lions would hold on to Smith in 25. Well, that won't be happening. Now, the Lions have released Smith, according to Jeremy Fowler and his sources, that the Lions plan to release pass rusher Za'Darius Smith. Obviously, this is a big one. Like, Z's smile is infectious, right? The way that he played, I thought he played very well, given the situation that he was in. Now, the problem with Smith's contract structure, he was in line to get paid $8.99 million in bonuses on the 3rd day of the new league year, which is next week on March 15th. The bonuses would have jumped Smith's salary up to $11 million in 2025 had he played for the Lions. But there's more. If he had not re-signed after 2025, he would have counted $5.242 million against the cap in 2026, even though he's not on the team. It's because of the void years tacked onto his deal, which created another issue on their own. It makes it cheaper up front, but boil it all down, the Lions would have to eventually pay the tab on the money kicked down, the end of the road, which is what void years ensure. Now, if the Lions had re-signed Smith after 2025, then the void years would have been tacked onto the end of whatever length of the new deal represented. That is a lot of money for a 33-year-old edge rusher with the Lions, or while the Lions are in good standing with cap space next season. This is a lot of money that they could clear off the books to help them get younger at the position. The way out of this was parting ways with him before the new league year starts. They now don't have to pay any dead money, and they save over $5.7 million against the cap. The Lions can now have a lot easier time getting things done without that $11 million contract on the books. Okay, so it makes sense. It doesn't make sense. It makes sense from a Caps perspective. It also makes sense from the perspective that Za'Darius Smith could just come back to Detroit. He could. They could have a gentleman's deal. I mean, he doesn't have to sign with anybody. He's a free agent. He's not restricted. He can do whatever he wants to do. And for that reason, he could come back. We don't know yet. We've seen these types of things happen before. So I'm not totally out on the fact that this could happen. The other thing, with that is, if that was going to happen, then why wouldn't they have just restructured his entire deal? So I guess I'm more leaning, less than 25% positive that there's even a chance that Za'Darius Smith comes back. He's going to end up with another team. Otherwise, they could have restructured his deal and been done with it. There's a difference between an extension and a complete restructure. So if they would have restructured it, it's basically taking that contract and turning it into a new contract with new language, which obviously didn't happen. So Za'Darius Smith, man, wish you nothing but the best. Probably won't see you back this year. Honestly, hope we don't have to play against him, in a situation in the NFC North, but there's always that possibility. The only other team that he hasn't been to is the Bears, I believe. He played for the Vikes. He played for the Packers. I think the Bears are the only team he hasn't played for in the NFC North. Could be a play there. You know, obviously Ben Johnson's over there. Could be a play in New York, over with the Jets. Just don't know. But I would say that those are two likely spots right now for Za'Darius Smith to end up because there's relationships there. Otherwise, hell, he could end up back in Cleveland. Who knows? He could. It's all possible. How do we replace him? We have Aiden, who's hurt, still rehabbing. We have Marcus Davenport, who should be good by now, but obviously he's going to have a lot of work in front of him. We have Josh Paschal, who was put into a hybrid role last year, then switched outside. Mekhi Wingo, who is still recovering. Now to go to the interior side, Lee McNeil is going to be out at least until what we've heard, October. The Lions need a lot of defensive front help, a lot. So one of two things has to happen. They're either going deep into this draft and they're going to pull as many defensive tackles and edge rushers as they can out of it, or something is cooking in Brad Holmes' kitchen right now. So Za'Darius Smith out of Detroit. I'd like to know in the comments below, who do you want to replace him? Because I just don't think that there's much more the Lions are going to be able to do given the incredible, cap considerations right now with these last two extensions. Even if you get Aiden Hutchinson done, these edge rushers are going to be expensive. As the cap rises, so do the contracts. As the contracts rise, so does free agency. And free agency dollars being spent, what we've already seen, has not been cheap. So Za'Darius Smith, he's out of Detroit as of today, Sunday, March 9th.